right now in the redistricting battle.
People understand this is a five-alarm fire.
Now there's a scheme that has been hatched by the governor.
As debate grows over Governor Newsom's Prop 50.
We have to fight back. And so we're going to go forward.
Two bad behaviors don't make a right behavior.
What it means for voters.
Because really it just feels shady.
And communities.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. And on November 4th, California will hold a statewide special election. So over the next half hour, we're looking at the only issue on the ballot, Proposition 50, and it is all about redistricting. Redistricting is the activity or process of dividing an area or region into new districts, such as for administrative or electoral purposes. According to the Secretary of State, Proposition 50 authorizes temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to Texas's partisan redistricting. It is a legislative constitutional amendment, and it asks voters if they want to temporarily bypass the state's nonpartisan redistricting committee and replace existing maps with proposed maps for the next 3 election cycles through 2030. So let's break this down a little bit, because California, every 10 years after the federal census, must redraw the boundaries of its congressional, state senate, state assembly, and state board of equalization districts to reflect the new population data. So this means, for example, every 10 years you may end up in a different congressional or senate district, even if you're still living in the same address. So the redrawing of those districts is done by a nonpartisan redistricting committee. California voters authorized the creation of the commission back in 2008. Now, here's where Texas comes in. Back on July 30th, Texas Republicans released their proposed maps as they try to heed President Trump's call to flip 5 congressional districts for Republicans ahead of the midterms. Days later, Governor Gavin Newsom announced his own plan to counter the redistricting effort in Texas.
A special election would be called. It's likely to be the first week of November. And they're doing a midterm rejection of objectivity and independence. A act that we could criticize from the sideline, or an act that we can respond to in kind, fight fire with fire.
Now, under Governor Newsom's redistricting plan, the newly redrawn congressional maps would potentially add 5 more Democratic seats in Congress in the 2026 midterm elections. Congressional District 3 is an area that is impacted by the newly proposed maps. We want to take a look at those right now, because this is currently what District 3 looks like. The proposed maps, though, here's a look at the changes. You can see some big changes there. And the seat is currently held by Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley, now in his second term. As ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen explains, he is already facing some challengers.
Alex, Congressman Kevin Kiley says he's confident he can keep his seat even if voters approve the new maps in November. He has 2 challengers, Democrat Heidi Hall, who is currently a Nevada County supervisor, and Democrat Tyler Vandenberg, a Marine veteran from South Lake Tahoe. But Kiley is ready to defend his position and believes his work speaks for itself. At this moment, what would you say are the top 2 to 3 issues that matter most to your constituents, and how do you plan to continue to address them if you are reelected?
So I've really been fighting as hard as I can to bring down the cost of living, to get inflation under control by removing regulations, by responsibly reducing spending. Second issue is just making sure we have strong border security, and we've been able to actually achieve a lot in that respect. We went from having the most illegal border crossings in our country's history to now hardly having any at all.
Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley is dedicated to keeping his seat and continuing his work on Capitol Hill. Kiley says he's providing concrete solutions for the challenges in his district.
We are going to clean up some of the traffic jams that you get around the 6580 interchange. I've secured $22.5 million in a federal grant, so that's money that's a cost that will not be borne by our local taxpayers.
But Kiley has challengers already competing for his seat. Democrat Tyler Vandenberg from South Lake Tahoe. He's a Marine veteran who says he's committed to ending Trump's tariffs, undoing DOJ's cuts, and preserving federal land and national parks from being sold.
I'm aiming to meet people where they are and to run to meet their material concerns and to help them believe that the government can do good things and it can build a better life for them.
Democrat Heidi Hall is a longtime Nevada County resident and current board supervisor.
I'm a problem solver. I've been a public servant for 3 decades, and for the last 9 years, I've been governing from the Board of Supervisors right here in Nevada County.
So why should voters in this newly drawn district trust you over Kevin Kiley to represent their needs in Washington?
The cuts to Medicaid, to SNAP, the complete decimation of the VA and other federal agencies are directly hurting this constituency. He has not shown up this entire year for a public meeting to actually talk to his constituents, and he has never had the spine to stand up to Trump and challenge him on these policies.
In the spring, Kiley was criticized by his constituents for not holding enough town hall meetings to talk about potential program cuts. In response, Kiley says the cuts addressed wasteful spending.
The reform you see with SNAP is simply saying that states need to do a better job of making sure that those benefits are actually getting to the people who need it. And it's similarly with Medi-Cal. We're saying that people who are enrolled in multiple states, that shouldn't be happening. You should only be enrolled in one state. Or people who are in our country illegally. They shouldn't be taking benefits that citizens who are here legally are entitled to.
Is that what you're trying to say? Is that the benefits would outweigh any cons coming from those impacts?
Well, actually, under the bill, Medicaid spending is actually going to increase through the end of the decade. So there were some proposals that suggested reforming the program in more sweeping ways that would have changed that. I fought against that, and at the end of the day, we ended up with a package that will actually end up increasing Medicaid spending over the next decade.
In August, Kiley introduced a bill to prohibit mid-decade redistricting.
We have so many more important issues we should be focusing on as a country right now. Drawing district lines and tossing communities out of people's districts and putting new ones in, that shouldn't be what we're focusing on right now.
Do you think the president would sign this piece of legislation?
I certainly hope he would, yeah.
To introduce legislation right now that Kiley is doing is pure hypocrisy. When he was in the Assembly, when we established the Independent Commission here in California, he voted against it.
In 2020, as an Assembly member, Kiley voted no on Senate Bill 139, requiring larger counties to have independent redistricting commissions that's in addition to the already established statewide commission. Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed that bill. Kiley responded by saying he's always supported the Citizens Redistricting Commission created by voters, and that these bills were proposals offered by politicians, not voters, with their own interests in mind.
Do you support banning or prohibiting mid-decade redistricting?
I would love to make sure that mid-decade redistricting doesn't happen in a way that's gerrymandered. I'd be cautious about an outright ban because we don't know what kinds of changes in the population might happen mid-decade.
But I think California voters know that the stakes are very high. They know that the Trump administration is coming for us one way or another, and that they're going to act to protect our democracy nationwide. Prop 50 is a good thing. I absolutely support doing it for all the reasons that I mentioned, including the fact that it's temporary.
In Sacramento, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
A special election costs money, and we're now getting an idea of how much the November 4th special election is going to cost. The total estimate is $282 million. This is the combined figure of $251 million given to counties, plus administrative costs from the Secretary of State's office. In the greater Sacramento region, Sacramento County would get the biggest amount of more than $10 million, followed by San Joaquin, Placer, and Solano counties. Still ahead, we're heading north to District 1. We hear from Congressman Doug LaMalfa and the challengers fighting to take his seat. Welcome back in. The redistricting battle in California could trigger another election, leaving some congressional seats wide open. So I want to take you out to District 1 right now. This is the current map of what District 1 looks like. Under the proposed changes, this is what the possible new map could look like. Currently, incumbent Congressman Doug LaMalfa could face new challengers if the maps pass. So you'll hear from him and also the candidates who say they're ready to step in. More than 760,000 people live in California's current 1st Congressional District. It stretches across small towns like Richvale, Willows, Durham, and Chico, a region that plays a critical role in California's agricultural economy.
In fact, this part of the Sacramento Valley is the state's top producer of rice.
The vast majority of the people here are farming families. They've harvested this land for decades, such as Congressman Doug LaMalfa's family. They have been here for generations, and he's represented District 1 since 2013. So this is all rice.
Rice is a plant that grows in standing water. Well, this as it ripens, it'll become more and more gold. You can see it's partly gold, right? Well, in 1931, my great-grandparents bought the first piece of property, and so we've been building on it since.
Congressman Doug LaMalfa has represented District 1 for more than a decade. Some voters back his record.
Doug's great. Doug's great. He's done a good job. He's been a longtime friend.
While others want to see change.
I think we need to fight fire with fire. We need to fight back.
Do you think people are ready for a change in your district, though?
Oh, 30% of them are.
Anything you want to say to that 30%?
I'm trying.
Or to the people of your district? Yeah.
I'm trying to represent in a way that is beneficial to all people. You can't just have the thought that others are going to provide for you in perpetuity. You got to be part of it. And so for those people that want to be productive and be part of it where they can, but if you think it all just comes from demanding things, well, I don't do good with demands.
LaMalfa has been vocal about opposing Proposition 50, calling it a terrible idea.
I don't care which state you're talking about. Here in California, it's got even an extra layer of heinousness on it because the voters 3 times affirmed on ballots, on initiatives, that they want it to be separate from politicians drawing the lines. So does it mean anything to anybody? It's really about political gain, in this case for one particular party, and it's really ugly.
Well, it's interesting that you say political gain. What do you say to the people that are saying, hey, this is in response to Trump wanting Texas to redraw their maps to gain seats?
Well, that's a good sales pitch by the Democrats on that, but it's a separate issue. And do you really want your own process to be trampled in California because of what someone else might be doing?
LaMalfa says that if Proposition 50 passes this November, he will run for his district again.
Now, some voters who will be added to this district may not feel connected politically or even geographically. How will you bridge that gap and show them that their concerns are a priority for you?
What me and my team have always laid out has been trying to bring the economy in line with what affects normal people at their kitchen table. Normal people, if you can just sit them down and say, hey, do you like being taxed this much? Do you like your cost of everything being this much? Do you like seeing your neighbor's property being taken away because they can't afford to have it anymore because of regulations coming out of Sacramento and Washington, D.C.? So you talk about those issues and you put the party stuff beside because that gets so polarized.
In LaMalfa's district, Glenn County Medical Center, the county's only hospital, is shutting down after losing federal funding. For residents, that means a 30 to 40-minute drive to the nearest ER.
What efforts have you made, specifically talking about Glenn Medical Center, to keep that hospital open?
We're dropping a piece of legislation very soon to change that status for them and put them back into eligibility. Now, we've been trying to urge them don't just close so quick because we're trying to do this. It takes a while to grind this stuff out in Congress and grind out the agencies. And the bad thing is once they close the doors completely for 1 minute, then all that eligibility is gone. The mountain is just 10 times harder to climb on that.
I do want to talk about Medicaid for a second. I know that there's over 300,000 people in your district alone who are on Medi-Cal. Are you concerned with the Medicaid cuts under the big, beautiful bill?
And the dollars coming from the federal government to be administered by the state. They're not being responsible there, so we're just supposed to keep, dumping endless amounts to the state. There's responsibility on both ends of this, and so more focus needs to be made not just on us federally, but how is the state carrying out what it is doing with the program.
The field of challengers in Congressman LaMalfa's district is growing. Audrey Denny, a Chico State professor and consultant in the charitable food sector, has run against LaMalfa and lost in 2018 and 2022.
People in our part of the world are primarily working class people that are struggling economically. Some of the biggest things that I would push for would be tax cuts to the middle class, boosting our support of our rural hospitals and rural medical care, as well as working with everyone to try to find solutions to lower healthcare costs. And lastly, forest health and fire prevention is so critical.
Rose Penelope Yee, a retirement firm CEO, has also challenged LaMalfa several times before, including in 2022 and 2024.
One of the big reasons why I ran for Congress against LaMalfa the first time is really to push for universal single-payer healthcare. And that is one of the things that I will champion in Congress. La Malfa doesn't support like the raising the minimum wage even to $15 an hour. And that's something definitely that will be working at. And he doesn't support also like a tuition-free public colleges and universities. That is also something that I support. So we need to address those economic issues that would help benefit our residents, not just here in Shasta County, not just here in District 1, but really in all of California and in all of the United States, because Congress is a federal office.
If Prop 50 passes, neighbors could be split three ways, and Lodi voters are now demanding answers before November's election. If California voters approve the redrawn maps, some parts of the state will see little to no change in their congressional representation. But as Becca Habecker explains, that's not the case for the city of Lodi.
Welcome to Lodi, an agricultural town in San Joaquin County with a population of about 70,000 people, who all currently live within Congressional District 9, represented by Democrat Josh Harder.
But if California voters approve the redrawn maps, Lodi will be split between three different congressional districts. Here at the intersection of West Kettleman Lane and Church Street, neighbors will span Districts 7, 8, and 9, all currently represented by a Democrat. And the maps are drawn such that a Democrat is expected to continue representing each of these three districts.
District 7 would include Elk Grove, part of Sacramento and Placerville. District 8 would include much of the Delta, plus Vacaville, Fairfield, Vallejo, and Richmond. And District 9 would include part of Stockton, Tracy, and Modesto.
Honestly, it doesn't make sense to me.
Stephanie Kelly is a Lodi native.
I've lived on different sides of Lodi growing up.
She now lives along the dividing line that would put her family in Congressional District 8.
Just from a jurisdiction point of view, that doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't you keep the community together so we can do what's best for said community instead of, well, here's your line and here's my line, because really it just feels shady.
She says she wants more information, candid, honest information, before voting in November's special election.
Give us a compelling argument for both sides, and then we can make an informed decision. Like, I'm an RN, and part of my job is in making sure that my patients have all the information, the pros and the cons, before they make a decision for their body. I want to be able to make an informed decision.
We spoke with several other voters in this neighborhood who said they didn't want to go on camera, but they are aware of the potential split in Lodi, and at this point they want more information before making up their minds.
What I am seeking tonight is a formal resolution that the city is against this redistricting.
A simple majority of Lodi City Council members voted to approve a resolution opposing redistricting. A strong message, though a symbolic one, as it's ultimately up to voters statewide on November 4th.
Congressman Harder has represented all of Lodi, allowing our elected officials, our business leaders, our community groups to work in a unified partnership with him and his staff. Establishing a strong and informed working relationship with one congressional member is already a challenge for part-time council members. Doing so with three is nearly impossible.
Current Representative Josh Harder said in a statement, "I absolutely believe Lodi should be kept whole. As our state considers a response to Texas, my bottom line is that any change to our maps should ultimately be decided by the voters so that they can make their voices heard loud and clear."
All right, to get deeper into the redistricting conversation, I want to bring in our political experts. We have Republican strategist Rob Stutzman joining us and Democratic strategist Andrew Acosta. Thank you both so much for being here. Appreciate it. I want to start off with Rob, you first. Let's talk about voters. What is the mood of Californians right now, especially when it comes to redistricting specifically, and how is that really shaping the debate around this proposition?
Well, I don't know if we know that the voters are paying that much attention. To be honest, that is one of the great questions to be determined by the election. The polling that is available to us, we have some preliminary numbers that show that maybe they're not so interested in doing this. Democrats may think it's a good idea. Republicans don't. Independents aren't sure what's going on. I think this will be a challenge for both campaigns to engage and inform as we get closer to the ballots being available here within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Andrew, I know you and I were just talking, and that was one of the biggest questions we were, discussing is, do people actually know what's going on?
Well, I think Democratic voters know they don't like Donald Trump. So that part I think we all have figured out.
So that's a lot of the messaging you're going to see is vote yes, stop Trump. So that part of the equation has started. Now, where this ends and can they close the deal with voters when they get their ballots, we'll have to see that.
And I know we were talking, and you were even talking about the messaging of vote yes, vote no being a little bit confusing. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think there are 20-something groups out there pushing a yes campaign, and some of them are pushing a yes campaign saying, vote yes so we can vote no on these healthcare cuts and vote no on Donald. So the yes-no messaging becomes confusing. I think voters get, okay, I need to vote yes, but when you start adding in to stop this and no on that, then it's like it's too much.
Yeah.
So I think the stop Trump thing is easy.
Now, we know a lot of money is being put into this race. Do you think it'll have an impact on the outcome, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're the numbers are, they've raised, the yes side's raised over 70-something million. They haven't spent it yet. No one's voting yet, so there's still time. So it'll definitely have an impact. And I think, you have the other side, the no side, who's backed by someone who can write checks at $10 million a pop. That could also have an impact.
Yeah, I think whoever spends the most money may win. It very well could come down to that. So Andrew's, of course, talking about Charles Munger Jr., who has funded the no campaign to this point to the tune of $30 million. We're waiting to see some money come in from what's the more traditional Republican opposition effort. They've reported raising about $5 million. Well, that's woefully short. I think there's a real question if national Republican donors are going to come in on this or not. So far, they haven't shown up.
Now, Rob, if the proposition passes or it fails, what do you think this really signals about Governor Newsom's potential run for president?
Well, he's all in. This is really ultimately about Newsom running for president. You're going to.
You mean you think redistricting is ultimately about?
Sure, it's his chance. As I describe it, it's an authentic fight for him to have with Trump, and so he's able to lead his party into this fight. For partisans that want to fight fire with fire, there's a big question though for millions of Californians as to, well, so you're telling me we have to stoop to the level of Trump in order to beat Trump, and are we going to continue to do this in American politics, or are we a little bit tired of it? I think if this passes, I think it's a very unfortunate situation in California where you'll have about 8% of the population represented by Republicans in Congress, yet they vote at about a 40 to 42% level Republican in this state for statewide electeds. There's nothing healthy about that for those of us here in California. It might be healthy for Newsom's national ambitions, but is it really what's best for this state going forward the rest of the decade?
Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I mean, I do think that when I started doing politics a long time ago, before I had gray hair, the state assembly was almost 40-40, 80 members, and you had more dialogue in the races I worked on. You had Democrats and Republicans talking to each other during campaigns. That's not where we are today. But I think on Newsom's future, I mean, I think a lot of the moves he's making back in New York, talking about sort of what they've done to lead the charge in climate for the climate week. This is a lot about Gavin positioning himself as somebody who's going to be a leader, be it taking on Donald Trump or energy or whatever, pick the issue. And that's where he's trying to position himself.
And Rob, I know you kind of talked about this a little bit already, but big picture, what does this redistricting battle really mean for California politics right now? And also its, future and how it shapes the influence of the national stage.
So it means California becomes less important. So the road to whoever is going to have the majority of the House is through California, unless 50 passes. If 50 passes, we lose all these competitive seats. The interest, the money, the competitive campaigns, the relevance to voters to live in swing districts goes away. And California becomes less important and our voice is diminished because we're completely giving in to this uber one-party rule in California. And so what it allows is, without competitive seats, allows those voters to pretty much be ignored.
But that's the point of the initiative. I mean, that's why they did this, is they did this with the sole purpose of finding, 5 seats, making the Democratic seats more Democratic. And I mean, that was the goal. I don't think anyone's going to be shocked when they wake up and figure out that California's now gone even bluer.
But as Andrew says, that's the point. But the consequence of the point is it quiets the strength of voters in California, and it quiets their voices.
So we'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you both so much. We'll be right back after this. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that we should be looking into or any questions about the information we covered tonight, you can always reach out to me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com. And don't forget, you can always download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app to catch up on any stories that you missed.